Okay, so let's jump right into the Nile Delta. We're going to try and get to the core of what makes this place in Egypt so important, how it was made, what lives there, and the really big challenges it's facing right now.
It's a fascinating topic because the delta isn't just, a feature on a map. It's quite literally the foundation of Egyptian civilization. It's this huge green triangle in what is otherwise one of the driest places on Earth.
And that geography has shaped everything for thousands of years.
Everything. History, farming, the country's whole identity.
So when we say its location, we're talking about the very northern part of Egypt. It's where the Nile River, after this epic journey, just spreads out.
It fans out and drains right into the Mediterranean Sea. And from the sky, it really does look like a triangle, or the Greek letter delta, which is, of course, where the name comes from.
That triangle shape makes up this huge coastline, right? It runs from Alexandria all the way to Portside.
Yeah, that's about 150 miles wide. The whole delta landscape really starts just a little bit north of Cairo, which is where the river finally splits.
And the size is just staggering. We're talking about 24,000 square kilometers.
Which, to give you an idea, is around the size of the state of Vermont in the U.S. Yeah. But imagine if all of Vermont was flat, super fertile farmland, just packed with people.
So that brings up the big question. How did all this amazing farmland even get there, sitting in the middle of a desert?
Right, that's the key. It wasn't always there. It was built layer by layer over millions of years through a process of silt and sediment accumulation.
The river itself was the builder.
Exactly. It's like this annual ritual. Every year, the Nile would flood. And when it flooded, it carried this incredible amount of rich, dark soil, the silt, all the way from the mountains in East Africa.
That's a journey of thousands of miles.
Over 4,000 miles. And this wasn't just dirt, it was packed with minerals. When the river finally got to the coast, the water slowed way down.
And all that heavy stuff just dropped.
It just dropped right out of the water. The silt, the clay, all of it. And as these layers of mud built up year after year, they actually pushed the coastline further and further out into the Mediterranean.
So the delta wasn't just getting new soil, it was physically getting bigger.
It was expanding. And that process created this incredibly deep, dark, fertile soil that was perfect for farming. You didn't need to add anything to it.
It's hard to really grasp how important that annual deposit of silt was.
It was everything. It kept the land high enough above the sea and full of nutrients. That's what allowed ancient Egyptian society to become so organized and successful. It was a predictable gift from the river.
But that natural process, that rhythm, has been, well, it's been interrupted by modern human engineering. We'll definitely get to that.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the story. But first, let's look at the environment there today. The climate, for instance, is totally different from the rest of Egypt.
Right. It's a Mediterranean climate, much milder than the desert just to the south.
It gives it a bit of a buffer. It still gets hot in the summer, of course. You're looking at average highs in July of around 30 degrees Celsius, which is 86 Fahrenheit.
But the sea and all the water in the canals probably help cool things down a little.
It moderates it, yeah. And any rain they get mostly falls in the winter, between October and March. But the humidity is often really high because of all the water and plants.
You also get those strong winds blowing dust in from the Sahara.
Definitely. Now, the waterways themselves are interesting. In ancient times, the Nile had, I think, 7 major branches that fanned out to the sea.
But not anymore.
No. Today, engineering and natural silting have channeled almost all the water into just 2 main branches.
And those are the Rosetta branch on the west and the Damietta on the east.
That's right. They both run for about 150 kilometers, or 93 miles, from that split point near Cairo down to the coast. And these 2 channels are the absolute lifeblood of the whole area.
So I imagine engineers are working on them constantly.
All the time, keeping them clear. And branching off from them is this massive, intricate network of smaller canals that bring water to every single farm.
And all that water and land supports a ton of wildlife, doesn't it? It's a major spot for migratory birds.
It's a critical stopping point. We're talking millions of birds flying between Europe and Africa. Storks, pelicans, you name it. The wetlands and coastal lagoons are like a 5-star hotel for them. Food, shelter, everything.
You see a lot of water birds like herons and ibises there too.
Yep, nesting in the reeds. And the water near the coast is unique. It's what they call brackish.
Where the fresh river water mixes with the salt water from the sea.
Exactly. And that creates a special ecosystem that supports certain kinds of fish and crustaceans, which is really important for the local fishing industry. Thankfully, some of these areas are now protected reserves.
Okay, so let's shift from the natural world to the human story. Because economically, the Nile Delta is, it's everything to Egypt.
It's not an exaggeration to call it the breadbasket of the country. That's its historical nickname, and it's still true. That ancient soil lets farmers grow incredible amounts of food.
And they grow a huge variety of stuff, right? Cotton, rice.
Cotton, rice, corn, all kinds of vegetables. And because of the warm weather and the water supply, they can often get multiple harvests in a single year.
Which is only possible because of those complex irrigation canals we were talking about.
It requires a huge amount of coordination to get the water where it needs to go without wasting it.
And all that farming supports an incredible number of people. The Nile Delta is one of the most densely populated agricultural areas on the entire planet.
It really is. Millions and millions of people live there, in villages and big cities. In some parts, the population density is over 1,000 people per square kilometer. That's like a major city, but it's spread out over farmland.
And you have major cities right in the heart of it, like Tanta and Mansoura.
Right, those are big commercial hubs.
Yeah.
And then on the coast, you have Alexandria, which is the massive port city connecting the delta to the rest of the world.
But when you have that many people on a piece of land, managing resources like clean water and electricity must be a huge challenge.
A massive challenge. It puts constant pressure on the delta's environment.
Mm.
And it's also a historic center for trade. Goods move up and down the river, and of course the Suez Canal is right there on the eastern edge.
So all the crops and goods produced there can be exported easily through Alexandria.
It's a very efficient system. But that whole system, this entire balance that was built over millennia, was fundamentally changed by one single piece of engineering.
You're talking about the Aswan High Dam.
The Aswan High Dam. Built in the 1960s, far upstream to the south, it completely changed how the Nile works.
Before the dam, the river flooded every year, which brought the silt. The dam stopped that.
It stopped the floods completely. The immediate benefits were obvious and they were huge. Farmers didn't have to worry about their crops being washed away, so they could plant all year round.
And the dam generated a massive amount of electricity for the whole country.
Hydroelectric power, yeah. It drove industrialization. But here's the problem. Stopping the floods also stopped the silt.
And that's the trade-off.
It's more than a trade-off. It's the central crisis. The delta only exists because the river was constantly adding new sediment, raising the land. The dam starved the delta of its building material. All that silt now just sits at the bottom of Lake Nasser, hundreds of miles away.
So farmers suddenly had to start using artificial fertilizers.
Exactly. What they used to get for free from the river, they now had to buy just to keep the soil productive.
And that lack of new soil leads directly to the biggest problem they have today, which is coastal erosion.
A very, very serious problem. Without new sediment being added, the waves from the Mediterranean are just washing the coastline away. In some places, the coast is retreating several meters every single year.
So people are literally losing their land to the sea.
Farms, villages, it's all at risk. You can see these huge stone and concrete seawalls they've built along the coast to try and fight it, but it's a relentless battle.
And erosion creates another problem, right? Saltwater getting into the soil.
Saltwater intrusion, yeah. As the sea moves in, saltwater seeps into the ground. It contaminates the fresh water that people drink, and it makes the soil too salty to grow most crops.
You can't have a breadbasket if the soil is full of salt.
You can't. It threatens the entire agricultural output of the country. So water management is now a matter of survival. That ancient network of canals has to be managed with incredible precision.
They use special gates and things to control the water levels.
Exactly. They're called regulators and barrages. They control the flow to make sure fields get enough water, but not so much that the salt builds up. And today, they use modern tech to monitor water quality and salinity constantly.
Looking forward, the challenges just seem immense.
They're monumental. The delta's whole future depends on how well they can adapt to rising sea levels and this ongoing lack of silt.
So they need new farming technologies, ones that use less water and fertilizer but still produce enough food for a growing population.
That's essential. And there's also the politics of it. The water in the Nile is controlled by the dam, but the river itself starts in other countries, like Ethiopia. So discussions about water rights are now a huge part of Egypt's foreign policy.
Because the health of the delta depends on decisions made hundreds of miles away.
The entire system is connected. So the careful planning happening today is crucial. The question isn't just about saving a landscape, it's about whether this region, which has been the heart of Egypt for 5,000 years, can keep supporting millions of people under these completely new environmental
The
rules.
Nile Delta really is an incredible example of a natural system that built a civilization.
And then the story of human ingenuity trying to control that system. Now, it's a stark lesson in the unforeseen costs of interrupting a natural rhythm that worked perfectly for millions of years.
So maybe the real question to think about isn't just what is the delta, but what does it actually take for a civilization to live with a river instead of just trying to control it? Good luck with your studies.